Even though card counting isn't illegal, I've been kicked out of a lot of casinos.
Are you gonna show me ID or not? Are you gonna show me ID or not? Am I legally? Grab your chips and get out of here.
Do I need to call a lawyer? I'm leaving the premises.
That is a crime, just let you know.
We got a guy that looks exactly like you that we've been backed off before.
Steve Bridges. All right, okay.
Need your ID. If you say no, then you gotta leave the building.
So I feel like this is a bit intimidating, to be honest.
You will have a warrant for your arrest.
So I think it's time to make the video that literally nobody asked for, but hopefully at least some of you will enjoy, Card Counting Backoffs Tier List Edition. Starting with...
At this time, we're gonna have to back you off our games.
Okay.
So, plays too good. We don't want it. We're too small for,
Yeah, no worries.
for what you're doing.
Yeah, it's fine. Thanks.
This is a fairly standard back-off. They weren't super polite, but they weren't rude. They're always going to lose a point for me for having an extra person, and I know this is going to be the casino policy to bring a security guard for safety, but I imagine in the history of blackjack, there's probably never been a time where the card counter that's being backed off suddenly becomes violent. So as a result, having an extra person there, I feel like is more intimidating than it is helpful. This casino didn't give me any problems when it came to cashing out, so for that, I think we're going to give them a C tier. Anything from a C and above is an acceptable back-off where I think they did nothing wrong. I've caught around 40 of my back-offs on camera. I picked a good range of them here, but I didn't want to go through every single one because that could take literally hours.
No blackjack table, no more. I think that you are a vanished player. So thank you for your business.
My favourite thing about this one is how I'm being told that they don't want my business at the same time as being thanked for my business. If I thought she was being insincere, it would probably go straight in the E tier. However, I think that she's actually being genuine. Are we going to give them an extra point for being friendly? We'll go in B tier.
I'm asking for your ID. We're not sharing it with anybody else.
Is this like a random check, or I'm just confused about this place because I just came out of the bathroom.
I will have them explain it to you afterwards, but right now I need your ID.
This is the first back-off I had that was really hostile. I came out of the restroom and a security guard came up to me and asked me for my ID. Putting aside the fact that it's kind of weird to be ID'd as you're coming out of the restroom, in general, you actually don't need to show ID when you're in a casino. The casino has the right to ask you to leave, but if you've already been playing, you're allowed to go cash out your chips within reason without showing ID. But a lot of time, casinos will really push card counters to give over their ID because they want to share around their info. So being insistently ID'd is essentially a back-off in a slightly different form. And when I refuse to give ID, he threatens to call the police and have me arrested.
Or I can get the police here, and then they can ascertain exactly who you are.
Nothing I'd done in the casino was illegal, yet I was being threatened with legal action. Eventually, I go over and speak to the pit boss, and she tells me it's fine for me to cash out my chips and leave. I cash out my chips, and as I'm walking towards the exit, another man comes up to me. It turns out this guy was from the Gaming Commission, and we have this whole ID conversation again.
And I understand that you're not able to provide identification.
I continue to refuse to give ID. He eventually takes out his phone to take my photo, and I turn and start walking out the casino. There were multiple security guards following me, which was really quite intimidating.
Do I need to call a lawyer? I'm leaving the premises.
For now, only because I know we have a worse back-off coming, I'm going to give it E tier. But make no mistake, E is a very bad letter in this tier system.
Anything else with blackjack, you're good.
What's wrong with blackjack?
You know what's wrong with blackjack. Plus 6 is a very good number.
I mean,
It's not illegal. You told us you won't go play anything else. I don't know what make a big deal.
yeah, fair enough, thanks. I think he's still giving you guys more money than I've taken, so.
It's really hard to dislike this guy. He was friendly, he didn't kick me out of the casino, just said I couldn't play any blackjack. I'd be tempted to stick it in the A tier. However, when I was playing in this casino, I was sat next to another player who was really drunk, and every single hand he would tip the dealer. It's illegal for a casino to let someone play when they're clearly very drunk. So I caught eye contact with the dealer and asked, is he okay? The dealer immediately shrugged that off and said he was fine. For clarity, it's going in A tier because of my interaction. If I was taking into account how they were operating separate to just my interaction, it would be way, way worse.
Just want to let you know that we will not offer you use of any of our tables.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just a decision.
Because I don't have the ID?
The decision made by management. We
Okay.
have the right to refuse service, and we will not offer the use of any of our tables.
Sure. How come, if you want me asking?
Decision made by management. We have the right to refuse.
This is one of my least favourite types of back-off, but it's really hard to criticise it because they were perfectly fine. He wasn't mean to me, I cashed out my chips without any issues. I think they have to go in the C tier.
This over 21 thing, you are lying. You know that's not true. You know I'm over 21. Absolute bull.
This one is awful. I was about to leave the casino, I was colouring up my chips, and then I was asked for ID.
Sorry? I'm colouring. Don't worry.
The guy lied to me about why he was asking for my ID.
What for?
Oh, so I can get you rated.
and then just held up the process of cashing out as much as he could.
Why am I being held up?
Because I'm holding you up.
For what reason legally? Give me a legal reason. This is...
I was looking for your ID. I have the right to the ID.
He had a clipboard with a printout of my picture on it, but he was pretending that he just wanted to get me a player's card so I could accumulate loyalty points and all this. And I just really hate the direct lying. Not that I'm always going to be honest with casino staff, but he was directly insulting my intelligence. Later on, he also changed his story, so he made it seem like he was just asking for my ID and not demanding it.
I can't make you give me your ID, but I can ask, and that's what I did. I walked up to you and I said, hey, can I have your ID? You said, no, I'm coloring up.
Yep. So then what happened is I was sat at the table with my chips, and the dealer would not give me my card up because you wouldn't authorize it.
Yeah,
you haven't
verified it.
I got proper angry in this situation.
Let's not play a game. Why are you asking me for my ID? You asked these guys for their ID?
So I didn't really bring my best self to this conflict. This one is only being redeemed because I got my chips, and the guy I spoke to afterwards was a bit more reasonable. E-tier.
You know what this conversation is, right?
Oh, is it one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are like 12 grand up.
This is one of my favourite back-offs of all time. The guy was really nice, he was really professional, he treated me like a human being.
Nothing but respect.
No.
Have those kind of skills. Nothing but respect.
I don't know if I have them, to be honest.
Thanks with no thanks.
Yeah, totally no problem.
He also showed that he appreciates card counting.
Mike's the kind of fan, so...
Oh, right, I'm screwed then. Fair. Yeah, that happens now.
Not that you need to appreciate card counting to give a good back-off, but just the general friendliness and lack of hostility, it's got to go in S tier.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Good. Me again. What you got?
Under 4K, just 3,950.
They asked you to see your ID, right?
Yes.
You don't want to give it to them.
No.
They got to have your ID with money like that.
This is such a clear example of a power trip. The guy was misrepresenting the law, claiming that he didn't have to cash me out because it was a private business.
This is a privately owned property, and I do not have to cash you out.
Which is absolute madness. Can you imagine going into any casino in the world, winning a load of money, and then the casino being legally allowed to go, actually, we don't want to pay you? That's what he was saying. And he also accused me of trying to intimidate him.
You legally have to cash me out.
No, I don't legally have to. Stop telling me that. Stop trying to intimidate.
Me, in this casino, where they won't give me my money, and there's loads of them and one of me, I'm the one trying to be intimidating. He did eventually randomly change his mind.
I'm gonna let you cash your money out.
So for that reason, he's going to be promoted to E tier because I cashed out my chips without giving over my name. I feel like maybe I should just chuck all of these in the F tier. E has become pretty darn awful, but could be worse. That's the bar, isn't it?
Hi, excuse me.
Hi.
Can I speak to you for a minute? Do you have an ID with you?
No.
No? Okay. We feel that your pay is too strong for us, so we'll have to back you off and pay the bill.
Fairly standard back off, asked for my ID, I declined, that was it. They asked again, I declined. It's got to go in C tier. Wasn't friendly, wasn't rude. Fine.
Hi.
Hi, my name is...
Nice to meet you, Stephen.
Steven, we've determined that you're an advantage player. We're going to be backing you off of all blackjack style games.
This is the first back off I ever got, and I'm eternally grateful that it was this guy that backed me off. He was friendly, professional, let me stay in the casino.
It's up to you if you want to play in the other games.
If I were in the casino business and I were training people how to back off a card counter, this is exactly what I would show them. It's just to the point, but friendly, but he gets the job done. It's got to be S tier.
I'm going to copy down your information. This is the thing that I have a problem. I will never come back in this. I'm not going to play games with you.
Oh no, not this back off, I hate it. I don't even want to relive this one because it was so unpleasant.
Are you going to show me ID or not?
This happened in Tulalip Casino in Washington State. It's actually the sister property to Cal Cedar, which is where I had that really horrible, we're going to call the police situation. And this one just escalated so quickly. The security guy asked my ID, and as soon as I was trying to question what was happening even a little bit, his aggression just escalated so quickly.
I have ID when I came in the door. And you can take your chips and get out of here. You can't even cash them out.
And it's funny because I've had people in the comments tell me that they work with this guy and that he's actually really good to work with. But my experience was this is exactly how you shouldn't handle it. I guess some people are just going to give over the ID because they're being intimidated. But I just think this is an awful way of handling it. Eventually, I was surrounded by security guards.
This is 4 people for 1 man.
The whole situation just got more and more aggressive. Eventually, the police arrived and they were, thankfully, very reasonable.
Yes, that's fine. You're a police officer. I'm going to work on the chips being cashed out before you leave.
I probably shouldn't have given them my ID, but I didn't quite understand the law at the time. Even though the police were helpful, they're not employed by the casino, so they get no extra points for that. This one confidently goes in the F tier, as it gave me new insight into how bad casinos can be. Awful. Awful. Truly terrible, terrible, terrible.
I don't know if
You're aware you've been backed off before from double action blackjack here?
One of my favourite situations I've ever had in a casino. They backed me off thinking I was somebody else.
The reason I'm asking you, we got a guy that looks exactly like you that we've been backed off before.
And when they learned that it wasn't me, they let me keep playing.
I apologize. Okay. If you're hungry, we'll do anything for you.
No, it's fine.
You're fine? Relax, enjoy yourself.
They had no ego in the situation. When they realised they were mistaken, they apologised. It's going to go in A tier.
On a transaction this large, it is our policy that we need to have an ID to be able to cash out this large of a denomination.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for that.
This technically wasn't a back off, although I'm pretty sure that they knew at this point I was counting cards. Casino policy is different to the law. If I don't want to show ID, they still have to cash me out. But here we were, going in circles, them not cashing me out. The next day I ended up giving over my ID. At the end of the day, they wouldn't cash me out. If I was judging this off how hostile they were, it was around about a C tier. But if I'm judging it off the fact that they wouldn't let me cash out, it's an F tier. So I think I'm going to go with E tier.
You know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
We're going to do it a little differently. I need your ID. If you say no, then you got to leave the building.
No, I'll give you my ID. I'm over 10k, I have to. I can't get around that.
That's true.
Very nice people you have here, by the way.
Yeah.
Good staff, good dealers.
Yeah, good. And we try to be nice about it.
You are being nice.
Where you from? Where you from?
England.
This back off is really interesting. I got on with this guy really well.
Enjoy yourself. If you need some dinner or something, let us know.
Actually, I would love the Chinese place. Would you be able to?
Yeah, let me have your card. Yeah,
oh, you're a legend. Thank you.
You need one or two?
Just one. I'm by myself.
And considering how expensive the Chinese restaurant was in that casino, I really appreciated the free meal. Now, you might think that this good experience would make him end up in S tier. However, I am going to demote him. And that's because of the first thing he said to me.
We're going to do it a little differently. I need your ID. If you say no, then you got to leave the building.
I am 100% sure that if I hadn't shown him my ID, and in this case I legally had to, based off his confidence and his body language and how clear he was from the get-go, I would have been out the door with my chips. I'm going to put him in A tier because I did have a positive experience, but I imagine another card counter maybe would have put him in F tier depending on how their time went.
It's going to be the last hand for this shoe. The limits will be changing from $10 to $50, Steve.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
You're sort of catching my drift here, aren't you?
Yeah. Did you know my name because the guy told you, or because the guys upstairs told me?
Steve Bridges.
All right, okay.
In certain states in America, it's actually illegal to back off a card counter. That's because it's been deemed unfair to ban someone from playing a game just because they're good at the game. Their way around this is that they'll announce that they're going to shuffle every couple of hands, or they'll just make the table maximum really, really low. This back off is a pretty good example of someone doing it in quite a friendly, polite way. We had a little bit of chit-chat afterwards. I think I'm going to put him in B tier.
No, not with me.
You got a passport?
I don't carry it out the safe.
What's going on?
I don't know, but I'm getting progressively worried about it.
In this casino, they'd countermeasured me a couple of times by deeming they were going to shuffle every 2 hands. But I guess they got sick of doing that, so they resorted to IDing me. They knew that I'd refuse ID, so they used that as a justification for making me leave the casino. Pretty sneaky.
At the end of the day, it's still private property.
Sure, okay.
You either have to show it or you have to...
Yeah, okay, yeah, well fine, I'm happy to cash out and go.
They also had more security guards than I think was necessary. I'm going to put this in D tier. It was out of line, but not as stressful as the other situations in E tier.
What is the issue? Like, I know you're saying it's a person.
Anything over 5,000, you need an ID.
But for what reason, sir? I'm just trying to understand. So it's a rule that you guys have?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this one. This happened on Project Liberty, the most recent series, and this is one of the worst back-offs I've ever had. Annoyingly, my hidden camera was glitching up, so I didn't get the key bits that were really stressful. They refused to cash me out over a certain limit. It was immediately quite tense. There was another security guy that was putting pressure on me constantly and telling me that I should probably just leave. And there was a guy from the Gaming Commission that was there, the person that's supposed to stay impartial between the casino and the player. And he came over to me completely hostile. And I was so defeated that eventually I said, "Isn't your job to enforce the law?" And he said, "My job is to enforce the casino policy." Terrible experience at that casino. Terrible experience with the Gaming Commissioner. They wouldn't let me cash out. It's gotta be F tier.
So I am returning your ID. You are being released by the Division of Gaming today for the possibility of fraud acts. I'm gonna go review the videos. If the videos show that you are committing a crime by cheating or counting cards, you will have a warrant for your arrest. In the state of Colorado, that's not allowed.
Counting cards is a
illegal.
warrant for my arrest?
It is a form of fraudulent activity in the state of Colorado.
This is a bonus because it didn't happen to me, it happened to my friend Sheriff. They blocked his car in so he couldn't leave the casino.
And they've been holding me here Okay. For no reason. They haven't given me a reason why they're holding me here yet.
And a police officer or a gaming enforcement officer, somebody that was wearing a police uniform, told him that counting cards is illegal. Obviously, it's not illegal to count cards. This whole situation was about as bad as it could go, so it firmly belongs in F tier. But crazily enough, this isn't even the worst situation that happened to my friend Sheriff. In fact, Sheriff's had so many unbelievably high conflict situations, often involving police, that we actually recorded a whole interview that's available to watch online at Nebula. Nebula is a streaming platform built and run by content creators like me. On Nebula, you can watch all of my card counting videos ad-free, with each new upload usually on Nebula about a week before it's here on YouTube. There's also a bunch of extra content that's only available on Nebula. There's a video where I tell some extra card counting stories that were cut from the last series. There's also a dramatically lit conversation about card counting with me, which was originally only available to watch as part of a larger online event that was ticketed at $157. But that's just my stuff. There's also lots of exclusive, high-quality content from other creators on Nebula. I said this the last time I talked about Nebula, and I'll say it again, I'd highly recommend you check out a show called Crime Spree. It's such a good show. One of the things that's included if you use my link is Nebula classes. That's exactly what it sounds like, Nebula creators teaching you cool stuff. Some of it philosophical, some practical, some creative. Mixing ideas from different disciplines is a really good way of helping you grow. Signing up to Nebula is a great way to support me directly. In fact, I've got a whole series coming out on this channel that just wouldn't have been possible without Nebula. So if you have supported me by joining Nebula, thank you. And if you'd like to sign up, please use my link to get Nebula and Nebula classes at 40% off the annual plan. That works out at just $2.50 per month.